Welcome to Well Coached, the podcast where we talk about how people, sales, profit, and self come together to grow a business that actually works. I'm Chris Weinberg. I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs into their highest productivity zone by helping them get just corporate enough to lead with clarity, build with purpose, and scale with confidence. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Well Coached. I am your host, Chris Weinberg, and today we are talking about systems, specifically the kind that save you, not strangle you. When I work with entrepreneurs, they often resist structure, and they think that it means becoming cold or corporate. And as we know, many entrepreneurs jump off of the corporate train because it was stifling and becomes the bane of their existence. And the word corporate becomes a dirty word, and it gets associated with cold or not caring or lack of empathy, all those things. But let me tell you this, not having systems will eventually kill your soul and stop your growth. Chaos is the enemy of creativity. And I know that might sound a little weird. We use the disc profile system around here a lot. Typically, the most creative folks are these high I's, and they live in chaos, right? They live it. That's where their magic comes. But where they really excel is when there is a system around them to catch all of that creativity and do something with it. Whether that's a team member, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's a software package, or a calendar for that sake. All creativity needs some kind of anchor to make that creativity not spinning out of control, not being vetted all the way down to flesh out the right ideas, and not starbursting. So many times, highly creative people who have the best ideas in the world struggle to get anything over the finish line. And it's usually because they don't have a system to catch the big idea, put it into a system, and move on to the next phase. Okay, on the people front, if your team does not know what good performance looks like, you're going to set themselves and ultimately yourself up for burnout and for failure. So I want you to think about this. When you're starting to create systems for your people to follow, it starts with you on every single goal, on every single task, explaining and showing with great clarity, what does good performance look like? How do we get to the end of this goal, this season, this quarter, and have the ability to high-five each other and go, we nailed it. We said what we were going to do. We talked about what good performance looks like, and we did it. Now, I'll tell you what we're going through with the folks I work with right now. The first question that we're asking is, and we're asking this of the owners and the entrepreneur, but also of team members that help inform what the mission is, how do we get to the end of 2026 and say, that was a home run of a year? Start there, and then let's work our way backwards to what happens January 1st. What happens January 2nd? Start with the end in mind. How do we get to the end of 2026 and say, home run, we nailed this thing? That's how you start interacting with your folks. That's how you start using what Ken Blanchard deems as wisdom is in the group. All of us are smarter than one of us. And when you get your folks involved in the planning, it allows you as the leader to check in on the competence of your folks and on the confidence of your folks. Are they confidently able to make suggestions? Are they competent enough to be making suggestions? It allows you then to go, here's where I need to be coaching. I either need to step in a little bit with more structure, or I can start delegating a little bit more with this person. Wisdom is in the group. You want to know how your people are thinking versus just handing them a set of goals. Get them participating in, how do we get to 2026 at the end of it? High five and go, that was a home run. Sales side. If you find yourself repeating the same outreach, the same onboarding, the same proposal steps, it is likely time to start putting some templates in place. Automate the repeatable things so that you can focus on the relational side of business development. I want your business development, just about all of it, to be spent in front of the potential customer, not getting caught up in redoing a proposal that probably looks pretty darn similar to the one you just did for the previous opportunity. Things can be templatized, and the faster you realize that, the better, right? For us, proposals all are in the same template, right? A lot of them say pretty much the same thing. So instead of starting at 0 each time, we're starting with templates, which allows me to spend more time in the client or customer listening to understand where their pain points are and how I can help there. Right systems reduce confusion. They do not reduce connection. Let's talk about profit. I want you to have a dashboard. And what I mean by that is a one-page dashboard where you can go check in on the business. I want you to be able to open up a file and know what's our cash position. Are we on track or off track with revenue this month? Are we on track or off track with our budgetary spending? And are we headed in the right direction, or do we need to make micro course corrections? The faster you can get that feedback, the faster you can act on it. And you think about this when we look at numbers. So many times entrepreneurs don't even start out doing profit and loss statements, right? You're just managing by, do I have cash in the bank? And I'm not blaming anybody for that. You're up and running, you're doing your own thing. And if you're paying your bills, great, things are probably okay, but you cannot grow that way. And the bottom line is the more you look at your numbers, the faster you're going to get ahas and the faster you can do things about it. So what happens generally next is entrepreneurs will put in a profit and loss statement. They'll get a bookkeeper or they'll try to do it themselves. And they have a P&L statement that may or may not be accurate, but at least they have one. And now they're looking at it maybe once a month, but maybe it was done 2 months after we closed the month that now we're looking at. So that information is dead. It's gone. If there's something to correct, it would be like kicking the dog when the dog peed in the house 2 weeks ago, right? And now you're reprimanding the dog, and the poor dog doesn't know why it's in trouble. Same thing happens with financial reporting. So the nirvana would be for you to have these 3 things inside of your business for systems. 1, a cash flow statement. That can also serve as your dashboard, right? Where's our cash position? If not on a daily basis, at least a weekly basis, where you're looking at what are we taking in, what are we spending out, and have a little bit of forward look on what's our best predictability over the next few weeks here. Second comes the P&L statement. The profit and loss statement needs to be done by someone who's competent, hopefully a bookkeeper, unless you're going to get really good at QuickBooks, and maybe you are, and if you are, that's fine. But I want that P&L done no later than 15 days after the previous month. I want it sooner than that, but understanding that as a jack of all trades, when you're a young entrepreneur, you're probably doing all kinds of things. No later than 15 days after the prior month, do you want a P&L statement? Because otherwise the information gets too old to be able to do anything about it, right? And then finally, a balance sheet, which will show you the health of the business since day one. It's an overarching tool where you can talk about strategy and assets and liabilities. So the three things to create in your financial picture system: build, cash flow statement and or dashboard, profit and loss statement, and balance sheet. The more you look at them, the less scary they get. Harold Janine is a author of a book called Managing, I believe it was back in the 1960s, and he has a chapter in there called The Drudgery of the Numbers Will Set You Free. No entrepreneur, unless you're an accountant, gets up every day and says, I can't wait to go build my financials. However, they are so important in the mix of the people, sales, profit, self. You've got to know where you stand, right? Not only from a sales standpoint, you can have lots of sales, but when you look at that P&L, you still may not be making any money. You've got to know, what are my margins? What is my labor efficiency? What's the electricity bill? Are we buying too many potato chips for the snack basket? The drudgery of the numbers will set you free. And then finally, the self component. Systems actually protect your energy. They free you from decision fatigue when you can make things predictable, whether it's a morning routine. For me, that's workout. I get that out of the way first thing in the morning. A weekly CEO hour, time blocks for deep work. You've got to have systems to stay sane. I don't want you just leaving your day up to chance and leading your day up where things can force you into non-productive activity. And I want you to remember this. Activity does not equal productivity. On top of that, everyone has their highest productivity zone. And wherever yours is, whether you're a morning person or a midday person or even a night owl, wherever your highest productivity zone is, that is where you want to be focusing the hardest things that you've got to tackle. For me, I know that my routine is I get up, I work out, and I want to tackle my brain work, if I can, before 2 p.m. That's not always feasible, but if I'm in charge of calendar invites or my schedule for the week or for the month, as much as I can, I'm going to try to do my heavy lifting before 2. That just works for me. You may be someone who doesn't wake up until 2. That's okay as well, but understand where is your highest productivity zone and schedule your hardest stuff right in there. Always schedule time for yourself, whether that's exercise, reading a book, playing with the kids, going to the softball game. Schedule that stuff first. You need to be fine-tuned. And as the owner and the CEO and founder, you're not doing anybody any service by working all the time. Quite frankly, you're going to burn out. You're going to be too deep into the woods, so you can't see the bigger picture. And you're also teaching your employees that you're a company that's built on one thing: just get up and go to work. That over time will not keep eagles in your environment. So I want you to remember, corporate enough is about having systems that don't put you in a box, they back you up. They're scaffolding to get you to the next level and push you up. So until next time, keep on building and stay well coached. That's it for today. Thanks for being here. I hope something in this conversation sparked a new idea or gave you a little clarity. We'll be back next week to keep digging into what it means to lead well, grow smart, and build something that lasts. Until then, stay well coached.